The Fortune of Beverly Hills. Come and listen to the story about a man named Jed. He was a poor mountaineer who barely kept his family fed, living a simple life deep within the heart of the green hills. Day after day, he walked the quiet woods, looking out for his kinfolk and doing his best with what little he had. Then, on one beautiful and ordinary day, everything changed forever. Jed was out in the woods shooting at some food, hoping to bring home a good supper for the table, when his shot struck the earth. Instead of mere dust, up to the ground came a bubbling crude oil, that is, black gold. Texas tea. In that one split second, the course of his entire life shifted. Well, the first thing you know, old Jed is a millionaire. The news traveled faster than the mountain wind, and before long, all the kinfolk gathered around his porch. They looked at Jed, then they looked at the bubbling wealth, and they said that Jed must move away from there. They told him that California was the place he ought to be, a land of bright sunshine and new beginnings. So, with hearts full of hope and eyes wide with wonder, they loaded up the old family truck with everything they owned, and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is. Swimming pools, movie stars. The grand world of the Beverly Hillbillies had officially begun. The morning sun shone brightly over the grand mansion, casting long and elegant shadows across the perfectly manicured lawns. Inside the house, Jed Clampett stood by the large window, looking out at the sprawling scenery that still felt entirely new to him. Granny was bustling about in the kitchen, her voice carrying a familiar sharp energy, while Ellie Mae was outside tending to her animals. Down at the local bank, a different kind of excitement was brewing. Miss Jane Hathaway was standing near the entrance, looking out for the arrival of her dear friends. When the familiar truck finally pulled up, she smiled warmly and greeted them. "I hope she is not ailing," Jed said as he stepped down from the vehicle, his voice rich with mountain warmth and genuine concern. "Oh, no. She is in with Mr. Drysdale," Miss Jane replied with a reassuring wave of her hand. "She will be right out in just a moment." Jed nodded, looking around the polished lobby of the Commerce Bank. Granny stepped up beside him, adjusting her bonnet with a sharp tuck. "Hey, Miss Jane," Jed said, turning his attention to a young lady standing near the secretarial desk. "Are you not the girl that Shorty Kellams is so fond of?" The young lady blushed, a bright and cheerful smile lighting up her face. "Yes," she replied happily. "How is the little darling doing these days?" "He is getting married tomorrow," Jed announced with a proud grin. "The wedding is going to be held right at our place. Would you like to come and join the celebration?" "Oh, thank you so much," the young lady said, though a small sigh escaped her lips. "But I could never bear to see Shorty married to another woman. He is just so cute. We have had such wonderful fun together in the past." "Yeah," Jed agreed, nodding his head. "Shorty always says you two like to go dancing every chance you get." "Oh, he is a marvelous dancer," she recalled fondly, her eyes shining with the memory. "And he is just so incredibly cuddly." Granny, who had been listening intently with her arms crossed, stepped forward and let out a sharp humph. "Well, you have had your very last dance with little Cuddly," she said firmly. "What a pity," the young lady murmured, shaking her head lightly as she turned back to her work. Just then, the heavy oak doors of the main office swung open, and Mr. Milburn Drysdale walked out, his face lighting up with his finest executive smile. "Granny, Mr. Clampett, what a pleasant surprise," he exclaimed, throwing his arms out wide in a grand gesture of hospitality. "Welcome, welcome to the bank. We are honored by your presence today." Granny looked at him sideways, her eyes narrowing slightly at his grand words. "Were we supposed to bring presents?" she asked quite literally. "You got a ring to show us, or something?" No, Mr. Drysdale stammered, his cheeks turning a slight shade of pink as he tried to regain his footing. "I simply meant that it is wonderful to see you." "Oh, come into the office." "Thank you," Jed said, tipping his hat politely as they followed the banker inside. "We just dropped by to invite the both of you to Shorty's wedding tomorrow." "Ah," Mr. Drysdale said, nodding as he sat behind his large desk. "So, he is finally marrying Alverna Bradshaw. That is wonderful news. When exactly is the happy event scheduled to take place?" Well, Granny spoke up, her voice dripping with dry humor. The happy event was yesterday when Shorty locked herself in your secretarial pool to get away from him. The wedding itself is tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock sharp.
Can you make it?
Mr. Drysdale glanced over at his faithful assistant. It is entirely up to the chief, Miss Jane said with a smile. Oh, we will certainly be there, Mr. Drysdale declared, if Shorty does not find a way to run away again before the vows are set. Oh, that is all over and done with now, Jed assured him with an easy wave of his hand. Shorty cannot wait for the ceremony to begin. He is ready to settle down.
Really?
Miss Jane asked, looking a bit skeptical. You ought to see him right now, Miss Jane, Jethro called out as he entered the room, having just parked the truck. He is just like a caged bear right about now. Back at the Clampett estate, inside the sturdy structure that had been set up in the yard, a voice was shouting at the top of its lungs. Have a heart, Alverna, Shorty Kellams yelled, gripping the bars of the enclosure. Let me out of this dead, blasted bear cage right now. Alverna Bradshaw stood outside the bars, her hands planted firmly on her hips, looking down at him with a mixture of affection and stern resolve. Stop complaining about this cage, Shorty, she said smoothly. It is my official wedding present from Mayor Heller himself. Shorty groaned, resting his forehead against the cold metal. Why could he not give you silver like other normal people do? Alverna adjusted her dress proudly. He wisely decided that this would be much more useful for our future together. Oh, you must admit it is beautifully constructed. He built it all himself. Do not go on with that chat about Heller, Shorty grumbled, shaking his head. He has to be a blacksmith to build something this tight. You have absolutely no one to blame but yourself, Shorty, Alverna reminded him, tapping her foot on the ground. You had to go running away yesterday, going all the way to see those pretty secretaries down at the bank. Shorty blinked, turning on his charm as quickly as he could. You call those girls pretty? He asked, putting on an innocent face. Why, compared to you, Alverna, they are nothing but a bunch of scarecrows in a field. Then why did you keep going back to see them? She asked, her voice softening just a fraction but remaining guarded. Shorty smiled his best smile. So, I would enjoy seeing you all the more, sweetie pie. It is simple logic. After you look at a bunch of turkeys, you appreciate the peacock a whole lot more. Oh, Shorty, Alverna gasped, her heart melting instantly at the compliment. You gorgeous creature. Stop saying things like that. Your regular love has got me. You have got a man wild. Shorty nodded eagerly. If I was out there right now, I would grab you and kiss you right on the cheek. Oh, if you truly feel that way, Alverna said, reaching into her pocket, I will unlock the cage right now. That is my sweet baby, Shorty cheered, stepping back from the bars. Come inside with you. Alverna stopped, her fingers freezing on the key. Forget it, she said suddenly, pulling her hand back.
Huh?
Shorty blinked, his hope fading. Folks have talked, Alverna said firmly, shaking her head. I told her to sell you your lily white reputation, and I mean to keep it that way until tomorrow. You are completely right, dear. We will both be strong until the wedding. I will go finish preparing your lunch now. I am baking you a wonderful cake. Shorty sighed heavily. Put a saw in it, he muttered under his breath. What was that you said? Alverna asked, turning around quickly. I said I saw it, Shorty lied quickly, offering a weak smile. It is an absolute beauty of a cake. Out in the driveway, Jethro was talking to Jed as they walked toward the house. I will put the truck around back, Jethro said, tossing the keys lightly in his hand. All right, boy, Jed said, pointing a finger toward the yard. But remember, do not let Shorty out of that cage under any circumstances. I won't, Jethro promised proudly, puffing out his chest. He is a tricky little rascal, but I am keeping my eyes wide open. Be careful he does not find a way to outsmart you, Jed warned as he walked up the porch steps. Outsmart me? Jethro laughed, turning to look at his uncle. Did you hear that, Uncle Jed? I heard it clear as day. Really now? This here is a 6th grade brain I am carrying around. There is no little country rude like Shorty Kellams who is going to outsmart a mind like this. I got an IQ that is way up yonder. I am what you call a giant intellect. All right, Giant, Jed said with a chuckle as he closed the front door. Just do not let the man out of the cage. Jethro walked over to the enclosure, whistling a tune. Shorty watched him approach, his eyes narrowing as he thought of a plan. Shorty began moving his hands rapidly through the air, making strange gestures. What about me when you do that? Jethro asked, stopping in his tracks and staring at Shorty's hands. Oh, that there is sign language, is it not? I wonder what he is talking about. Hey, Shorty. Now, do not think you can get me letting you out of that cage because you simply cannot. I am far too smart for that. Oh, I know that, Jethro, Shorty said, his voice dripping with false admiration. I know you got a giant brain sitting right up there betwixt your ears. Jethro smiled proudly, touching the side of his head. I bet it is an absolute beauty, Shorty continued, leaning closer to the bars. I sure would like to have me a look at it if I could. How would you do that? Jethro asked, genuinely curious now. By looking right into your ear, Shorty explained seriously. Can you see a brain that way? Jethro asked, his eyes growing wide. Sure you can, Shorty said. Did you not know that? Well, no, Jethro admitted, scratching his chin. My eyes being on the front of my head, and my ears being on the very side, I have never been able to look in at my own brain. I sure would like to see that rascal, though. Well, Shorty said, pointing to the lock, just unlock this door, and I will come right out and take a quick peek and tell you exactly what it looks like. Oh no, Jethro said, shaking his head quickly. I am not letting you out of there. I am far too smart for that trick. Okay, Shorty said smoothly, shifting his strategy. I am coming in. You can take a look at my brain instead. Jethro grinned. Can't wait to get a glimpse of that thing, he said. It must be a monster brain. Oh, yeah, Shorty agreed with a nod. Lots of folks that have not seen it say I got the brain of a monster. Kind of hunker down low, so I can get a good look through the bars. Okay, Jethro said, bending his tall frame down to the level of the lock. Face this way so the light will come in the side, Shorty instructed, reaching his hands through the bars near the latch. Now hold real still. This is it. Jethro waited patiently for a few seconds, his ear pressed near the opening. Hey, what do you think you are doing? Jethro asked as he heard the latch click. It is far too dark in there to see your brain, Shorty said, stepping out of the now open door. I am going to go get a flashlight, so we can see better. Well, Jethro said, looking confused as he stood up, I was not supposed to let you out of the cage. You didn't, Shorty said, already backing away toward the gate. I let myself out. Oh, Jethro said, nodding in relief. Well, in that case, Uncle Jed cannot get mad at me at all. Of course he can't, Shorty said with a wave. See you later, Jethro. Hey, Shorty? Jethro called out as the smaller man reached the edge of the yard. Yeah, Jethro? Shorty turned back. Granny said not to let you outsmart me, Jethro recalled. You didn't outsmart me, did you? How could I ever outsmart a giant brain like yours? Shorty asked before disappearing down the road. Jethro smiled to himself, feeling entirely satisfied. What am I worried about? He muttered, stepping into the cage to wait. All right now, Shorty, you're going to. Just then, Jed walked out of the house and over to the yard. Jethro, he called out, stopping as he looked at the enclosure. What is up, Uncle Jed? Jethro asked from inside. What are you doing in there? Jed asked, tilting his hat back. Waiting for Shorty to come back with a flashlight, Jethro explained cheerfully. What does he need with a flashlight? Jed asked, crossing his arms. He is going to shine it in my ear, see if he can catch a glimpse of my giant brain, Jethro said proudly. He told you that? Jed asked, staring at his nephew. Oh, yes, sir, Jethro said. You cannot hardly blame the man for wanting to see what is inside this head of mine. True, Jed said softly, shaking his head. I have been wondering what is in there myself, for a long time now. All right, come on out of there, boy.